Peace and blessings to all our brothers and sisters of this great planet so-called Earth, and to all other beings in our great universe. This is Brother Africa Bambaataa, the godfather of hip-hop culture last millennium, the Amun-Ra of universal hip-hop culture this millennium. And we're gonna deal with the topic, where did hip-hop culture come from? We are dealing with a story that they claim to be a mystery, which is my story, our story, but not his story or her story. Because many people has got it twisted and has dealt with all type of lies, all type of foolishness when it comes to dealing with the true story or the factology of hip hop culture. We have three brothers who came out of a great organization that we had back in the day called the Organization, the Almighty Universal Zulu Nation, and even before it was a thing called the Zulu Nation or the Organization, or even a word called hip hop, or even a word called hip hop as a culture. You will be hearing from the great Green Eyed Genie, the man, the master, the great Lightning Lance, and also the coolest of the coolest, the mighty Kool Herc. So y'all check them out. Get an understanding, an overstanding of what these brothers have got to say dealing with hip-hop culture. There are many stories out there, but there's only the factology story. So let's check our brothers out. Peace and blessing from the Almighty Universal Zulu Nation, Africa Bambaataa. Peace.
Good evening. My name is the Green Eye Genie. I am one of the creators of hip-hop music. There's a reason why this music is all over the world today as you see it. In the introduction earlier, you just heard of Africa Bambaataa, the godfather of hip-hop, who I knew before he was even in existence in music in any form of fashion as a young kid that he was. My name is Stanley Harris, my regular name, aka Green Eye Genie. I come from the projects called Bronxdale Project. What I'm about to share with you today goes before all other stories that has ever been told ever in the history of rap music. All stories before that you have ever heard before are true based on individuals' time and era in which they came. This is not to discredit no other story that has ever been told. It is not to try to overshine any story that has ever been told. And it is not trying to disrespect any story that has been told individually or people collectively as a whole. What this story is here I'm bringing today to the world is page 1, The Birth of Hip Hop, which is a book that I'm bringing out soon, and a movie which is entitled, once again, page 1, The Birth of Hip Hop. Before I begin, you will hear a lot of illustrations because I always believe that an illustration is always able to hit things right on the target. And not only with illustrations, but anytime that you have documentation to prove your claim and the things that you speak, it'll be able to shut down anybody who would try to argue, who would try to dispute, and try to diss my credibility in what I'm here to share with you today. Let me start off. Once again, my name is the Green Eye Genie. I come from the projects called Bronxdale. These projects, Bronxdale, was the meanest projects in the whole Bronx. I come from a family of 9, 5 boys and 4 girls. My mother was the supervisor of Bronxdale. In back of me, you see Bronxdale of Disco King Mario, Tyrone the Mixologist. All of these individuals grew up with me before they was ever in existence, before hip-hop had its start. In 1971, a guy by the name of Mario, we used to do karate down in the basement of Pathmark, and later on, he adopted the name Disco King Mario. This is before anybody ever even knew him. My mother was a supervisor of 30 buildings. She had cameras put on the roof that is still there today in the first section, second section, and the third section. Those cameras was for kids that played in the playground, that she could monitor her kids and other kids that she took care of, bringing them on various amusement parks such as Rockland State Park, Yankee Stadium, Mohasset Park, and Bear Mountain. This is what my mother was doing in 1969. The Black Spades of that project's Bronxdale, they went around to all projects in the whole Bronx. They beat up all the gangs over there, and just mentioning some names, where Kool Herc lived off of Cedric Avenue. They beat up all the intercrime up in Edenwall. They beat up over there in Patterson Projects. They beat up over there in Melbrook Projects. They beat up over there in Thrall's Neck. They beat up over there in Soundview. They took over the whole Bronx. They was karate experts. And just to mention the names, because today they are masters. You have Sensei Peter Williams, Snoopy, Guru, Cuddy, Slater. I was in the martial arts with them in 1971 as a young kid. By the time of 1973, my mother was in Midtown Manhattan at 250 Broadway, which is the headquarters of the Tenant Patrol Association that she had started with the Housing Authority. They made false accusations against my mother and they evicted us from the projects that she so passionately took care of for many years. At that time, with nowhere to go, we slept in the hallways next to the mailbox for 2 days. The kids of my projects, they laughed at me and my family with nowhere to go. Welfare came in and they kept moving us all over the Bronx. I was moving everywhere all over the Bronx. And everywhere that I moved, it was gangs. Gangs such as the Black Pearls, the Black Spades from my projects that started it. They recruited Black Spades all over the Bronx. The Savage Skulls, the Savage Nomads, the Ghetto Brothers, the Peacemakers, and once again, intercrime up in Edenwall. I moved from Bronxdale to the Gun Hill Road section of the Bronx uptown. Then I moved over there where Kool Herc was from. I lived on Nelson Avenue on 130th and Nelson and Woodcrest. I lived on Creston Avenue on 183rd Street. I lived on 156th Street and Fox Avenue north of Southern Boulevard. I lived over there near Edenwall, uptown near 233rd Street, and used to go to the movie theater called the Winfield Movie Theater, right underneath the trestle right there of the train station. I moved over there on Burnside and Grand Avenue. I moved over there near River Park Towers where Kool Herc first started playing in Cedar Park. I lived over there also on Fulton Avenue and Boston Road when I used to go to a guy's house by the name of Mean Gene. His brother later on was called Grand Wizzard Theodore. Now Theodore wasn't out at this time. I used to be up in his house at his building at 1199 168th Street and Boston Road. It was another individual that you see on this poster behind me by the name of Breakout. I knew Breakout before he was ever in existence with any music. He didn't have no DJ equipment. He didn't have nothing. He will vouch this for yourself. It's another guy by the name of Grandmaster Caz. I knew Grandmaster Caz before he was ever in existence. He used to live on 181st Street and Creston Avenue. He grew up with my friends by the name of Steve Bates and Keith Bates and Susan Bates, right there off of Creston Avenue and Burnside. He wasn't in existence with no rhyming. These guys today is legends. In any book that you read, they are the forefathers of hip-hop that made hip-hop what it is. Well, how do I know these individuals before they was in existence? Well, if you remember in the beginning of my introduction, I told you that I moved all over due to trials and tribulations in what occurred in my household. And everywhere I moved, it was gangs. And I had to fight in martial arts to defend myself and my younger sister, along with my older brothers. And that's how I became known as Green Eye Stan at the time.